Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to give you my 6 reasons why you're not building any muscle. Reason number 1, you're a carrot and you haven't got any arms.
Come on, carrot. Pump it. Lightweight. Lightweight. What are you doing? That's the wrong way. Go forwards. Forwards. Stupid carrot.
Sorry guys, I lost my temper there. I didn't want you to have to see that. Anyway, now that's out of the way, we can get on with the actual video. But before I start, as I always do, I'm going to ask for 2 small things. Firstly, that you drop the video a like, and secondly, that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Right, let's go. Okay, so 6 reasons why you're not building any muscle. Reason number 1 is that you're not eating enough food. And this is an incredibly simple concept and one that's been backed up by extensive scientific research, but a lot of people still don't seem to grasp it. Now, simply put, if you don't eat enough, you will not get bigger, you will not get stronger. The only exception to this being a beginner who can get bigger and stronger under pretty much any circumstances, or someone that's taken drugs. Now, what do I mean by eating enough food? I mean being in a calorie surplus, so basically consuming more calories than your body needs, so enough calories to gain weight. When it comes to knowing how many calories you need to gain weight, you've got to work it out for yourself. Right? There's lots of calculators online, but ultimately these are just a stab in the dark. The best way to work it out is by process of elimination. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to eat 2,500 calories every day for a week, and you're going to weigh yourself every day for that week. At the end of the week, you're going to have a look at your weigh-ins. If your weight is staying the same, that means 2,500 calories is roughly your maintenance. Add a couple of hundred calories a day and you'll start to gain weight. If after that first week you notice your weight is going down, that means you're in a calorie deficit. So you're actually eating less calories than you need. In that case, increase your calories by 400 or 500 a day, so almost 3,000 a day, and at that point you should start to gain weight. Basically, you want to manipulate your calories, so add or reduce calories until you get to a point where you are consistently gaining weight each week. Now, how much weight you want to gain each week varies from person to person, but if you are a relative beginner and you are looking to build muscle, I would advise anywhere up to about a pound, so half a kilo a week. But if you've already been eating in a surplus or training for a considerable amount of time, you're going to want to reduce the amount of weight you gain each week, because basically the longer you've been training for, the harder it becomes to build muscle. So basically a beginner can gain like a pound a week, like I said, and a lot of that's going to come from muscle, whereas someone that's been in the gym for 5-10 years, if they gain a pound a week, the majority of that's going to come from fat, because they simply can't build muscle at the same rate that a beginner can. Reason number 2 is that you're not using progressive overload. Now, in case you're unaware, progressive overload is basically the process of increasing or making your training harder over a prolonged period of time. So essentially, you're tricking your body into thinking it needs to get bigger, it needs to get stronger by increasing your workload. Now, you can do this in a number of ways, but the most common ones are to increase the weight or to increase the total number of reps you do. Think about it logically, right? You go into the gym, let's say you put like 60 kilograms on the bar and you bench press it for 10 reps, and it's fairly hard. The following week you do it again and it becomes a little bit easier. The third week of doing those 10 reps of 60 kilograms is pretty easy. If you keep doing that week after week, why is your body going to build any more muscle? Why is it going to make you stronger? It doesn't need to. It can already do that initial load. The only way to force it to build muscle and to force it to get stronger is to either increase the weight, so go up to say 65 kilograms, or increase the reps, so go up to say 12 reps. By doing that, you've increased the workload, you've changed the stimulus, and your body is therefore going to have to adapt, and it's going to do that by making your nervous system more efficient and essentially building more muscle. And that leads us nicely onto reason number 3, and that is that you're not tracking your volume. Now, I've just spoken at length about the importance of progressive overload. How can you know you're progressively overloading unless you are tracking your volume? Like, unless you have an absolutely outrageous memory and you can remember every single rep and every single set and the weight for every single exercise across a week, you have to track your volume. Now, when I say track your volume, all I mean is basically write down what you do. So it can be as simple as using your notes in your iPhone. Like, I use my notes and all I do is write down the exercise, the number of sets, the number of reps, and the weight. Now, looking at progressive overload on a really basic level, all you've got to do is times those reps by those sets by the weight, and that gives you a total number of volume for that one exercise. So if again we look at the bench press and we say you do 5 sets of 5 reps at 100 kilograms, that gives you 25 total reps at 100 kilograms, which in total is 2,500 kilograms of volume for your bench press. Now you know this, all you've got to do the following week is just increase that in some way. So you can increase the weight to 102.5 kilograms, or you can increase the reps by adding a couple of reps to your last set. Either way, you've increased the volume, you've increased the stimulus, and therefore progressive overload is happening and your body's going to adapt to get bigger and stronger. The only disclaimer I have to give here is that when it comes to increasing your volume over time, you can't just rely on increasing the reps, right? So if you keep increasing the reps week after week after week, yes, your volume's going to be going up, but what you're going to find is you're doing too many reps in a set. So if you get to a point where you're doing, say, 25, 30 reps in a set, you're not working in optimal rep range in order to build muscle. So I would suggest when you get to a point where you're doing, say, 15 plus reps at a certain weight, it's time to increase that weight rather than increasing the reps. Reason number 4 is that you're not following a training program. Now, I've talked about the importance of progressive overload and the importance of tracking your volume. The best way to ensure you're doing those two things is to follow a training program. And the reason for that is that whether someone else has written your program for you or you've done it for yourself, you have everything mapped out. So you can see on a weekly basis that your volume is increasing. So for example, with your squats, you can see in week 1, you've got 5 sets of 5 at 100 kilograms. The following week, 5 sets of 5 at 102.5 kilograms. That means your volume is increasing over that time. Not only that, but you can also track your volume through the program. So when I write my programs, I'll leave a column where I can write down the total volume I've hit for that exercise each week, and it's a really good way to make sure all of those aspects come together to ensure progressive overload and progress is taking place. Following a training program will also allow you, once you get to a more advanced level, to periodize your training. This basically means putting your training into different blocks. Okay, so when you're a beginner, you can train hard almost every day and you'll still make progress. When you get to a more advanced level, it's not sustainable to keep training hard all the time. So what you might do is have a month of, say, lighter weight where you're getting more volume in, then a month of heavier weight with lower reps to get more strength focus, and then you might have a couple of weeks where you start to deload and reduce that volume to allow your body to recover. And this is just a way to keep making progress, keep getting stronger, keep building muscle when you get to that kind of advanced level. And if you're sitting there thinking, Matt, that's great, but what program should I be doing? Like, that's a massive topic that I can't address in this one video, and it varies drastically from person to person. But all I would say is that if you're new to the gym, try and hit each body part at least once a week, each main compound at least once a week, and like I said, just progress that volume on a weekly basis and you will make good progress. The fifth reason why you're not building any muscle may be that actually you're just bulking and so you can't see it. So basically what I mean by this is that if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, hang on, I'm doing numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4 and yet I don't seem to be building any muscle. This may be that because you're in a calorie surplus, you can't see the muscle that you're building. So to elaborate on this, basically when you're in a calorie surplus, or when you're bulking, when you're getting loads of calories in, as well as building muscle, you're also building a bit of fat. Even if you bulk really steadily over a long period of time, you're still going to be building a little bit of fat. And the problem here is that that fat gain is going to be masking the muscle gain. Now this is the whole bulk versus cut illusion, whereby when you bulk, even though you are building muscle, you look smaller because that muscle is being covered by fat. Whereas when you cut, you may be losing muscle, but because the muscle isn't covered by fat anymore, you actually look bigger. So this is a case of just trusting the process. You have to trust the process. You have to believe that you are building muscle. The weight is going up on the scale. That means you're putting on muscle, and even though you can't see it, in the long term when it comes to cutting down and losing that fat, you're going to have a lot more muscle and you're going to look a lot better than you would have done otherwise. Like, it's very common, and I've had clients in the past who have started a bulk, but they basically got scared, say halfway in, and sacked it off because they can't see that they're building muscle, and actually in reality they are. And if they'd stuck it out and continued that bulk, they'd be in a much better position than they are currently. So yeah, if you are bulking, if your weight is going up on a weekly basis and your numbers are going up in the gym, the fact is you are going to be building muscle. It's almost impossible in that circumstance to not be building muscle. So trust the process, trust your coach or trust yourself or the plan or whatever, continue doing it, and then when you get to a point where you're happy with the amount of muscle you've built and you're happy with the amount of weight you've gained, or you're unhappy with the amount of fat you have, then you can cut and reveal those results. And the sixth and final reason is that you're doing too much cardio or endurance-based training. Now I touched on this earlier when I said about the number of reps you were doing in a set, and although your overall volume is the key factor that's going to determine whether or not you build muscle, the way you execute that volume is also very important. And what I mean by this is that you could do 50 reps at 100 kilograms, but the way you do it makes a massive difference to the results you'll get. So for example, in the one instance, you could split that 50 reps into 2 sessions. So you could do 2 sessions where you do 5 sets of 5 reps at 100 kilograms, or you could do another week where you do one crazy mega set of 50 reps at 100 kilograms. That first instance where you do the 2 sessions of 5 by 5 is going to give you much better results than doing that one crazy mega set of 50 reps once a week. And that's probably a topic for another video, but what I will say is that a lot of people will go into the gym and spend most of their time doing supersets and drop sets and cluster sets, and they're not going to get the results they could do from that same volume, and that's for 2 reasons. And the first one is fatigue, right? When you do drop sets and supersets, you tend to have short recovery. When you have that short recovery, although you can get more work in that time, because you're fatigued very quickly, the amount of weight you can handle is going to be a lot lower. And as a general rule, if you consistently work at lower weights, so lower percentages of your 1 rep max, you're going to get less results than you could do if you were lifting heavier weights. And on top of this, the quality of your work is going to be significantly reduced. So it's very common to see someone in the gym doing, say, 5 sets back to back. By the 3rd set or the 4th set, because they're so fatigued, their form is all over the place, they're doing really ugly reps, the amount of engagement and contraction they're getting in those exercises is going to be drastically reduced, and therefore the results they're going to get are also going to be drastically reduced. And this is where again it gets gets a little bit confusing, because if you do loads of drop sets back to back, or you do a set of say 50 reps, let's say you go on a bench press and you put on a really low weight and you bang out like 50 reps, the pump in your chest is going to be absolutely enormous. You're going to feel really, really good with all the endorphins and stuff, but that is not indicative. Having a good pump is not indicative of getting good results. A much better way and a much more effective way of gauging the effectiveness of a workout and a training program is that you are progressively overloading, you are getting stronger over a period of time. And a good example of this will be a long distance runner, someone like Mo Farah, for example. I know for a fact that Mo Farah does lots of bodyweight squats and lots of bodyweight lunges in his circuit training, right? He'll do like say 50, 100, 200 reps in a session. But does Mo Farah have massive quads? No, he doesn't. His quads are the same size as a 7-year-old girl's. And that's what he wants. Like, he doesn't want to have massive quads. He's training as a long distance runner, but it just goes to show that just because you lift up a weight or you do an exercise, it doesn't mean you're necessarily building muscle. You still have to make sure you're doing the right stuff and in the right set and rep ranges. And one final point to this, when it comes to doing too many reps at too light a weight, or doing too much cardio for that matter, is that as well as not being optimal for muscle gain, you're also going to be burning a friggin' huge amount of calories. When I go back to my first point where I was talking about being in a calorie surplus, being critical to gaining muscle, obviously the more calories you burn in your training, the harder it's going to be to eat enough food to be in a calorie surplus. And that, my friends, is where I'm going to end the video, because firstly, I need to go and train myself, and secondly, I have 7 missed calls and 3 voicemails from the NSPCC. Frickin' hell. This is bad. They're on to me. Oh, crap. So, I sincerely hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you tomorrow.
Big carrot!
Drop kick in a carrot. It's probably easier if you don't ask, to be honest. I'm gonna get it.